The room smelled of antiseptic and old power. Kang Tae-hyun lay motionless in the private wing of Seoul's most exclusive medical facility. Monitors beeped in quiet rhythm. His eyes, once capable of destroying empires with a single glance, stared at the ceiling like a man already buried. The dragon tattoo on his neck pulsed with each shallow breath. He had commanded thousands. Now he could not lift his own hand. The door opened. A woman entered. Dark skin. Calm eyes. She carried no fear. He hated her immediately. But he could not stop watching. Hello, beautiful souls. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, I want to remind you, stories like this take time, love, and dedication to create. If you're enjoying this, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything. Now, let us begin. The agency had called it a private nursing assignment. Temi Ogunli knew better. She stood outside the towering glass building in Gangnam, clutching her documents against the November wind. The Kang Medical Tower rose 40 floors into Seoul's grey sky, a monument to wealth she would never understand. 3 months. That was the contract length. The payment would clear her mother's hospital debt in Lagos. It would save the family home. It would give her younger brother 1 more year of university. She had not slept in 48 hours. The flight from Nigeria had been 17 hours. The layover in Dubai, another 6. She had arrived in Seoul with 2 suitcases and a heart full of quiet desperation. You are stronger than this moment, she told herself. It was what her late father used to say. She walked through the revolving doors. The lobby was a cathedral of marble and silence. Her heels clicked against the floor as she approached the reception desk. The woman behind the counter looked up, eyes scanning Temi's simple black dress, her braided hair, her dark skin. Something flickered across the receptionist's face. Temi had seen that look before. She smiled anyway. I'm here for the private nursing assignment, she said, keeping her voice steady. Temi Ogunli. The agency sent my documents ahead. The receptionist typed something. Paused. Typed again. 39th floor, she finally said. Someone will meet you. Temi nodded. She did not thank her. The elevator moved in silence. Temi watched the numbers climb. Her reflection stared back from the polished doors, a 27-year-old woman with tired eyes and steady hands. She had trained as a nurse in Lagos. Had worked in London for 2 years. Had returned home when her father died. Had watched her mother's health decline while bills piled like stones. When the agency contacted her about this assignment, a wealthy Korean family seeking a private, live-in caregiver for a bedridden patient, she had not asked questions. She had only asked about the payment. $200,000. For 3 months. It was obscene. It was also her family's only hope. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. A man waited in the corridor. He was tall. Sharp suit. Silver cufflinks. His face carried the particular coldness of someone who had never been denied anything. Miss Ogunli. It was not a question. Yes, she said. He did not offer his hand. I am Secretary Park. I managed Chairman Kang's affairs during his recovery. He began walking. Follow me. Temi followed. The corridor stretched endlessly. White walls. Soft lighting. No artwork. No warmth. You will have your own quarters adjacent to the chairman's suite, Secretary Park explained without looking at her. Your meals will be provided. Your days off, negotiable. Your duties, extensive. What happened to him? Secretary Park stopped. He turned. For a moment, something human flickered behind his eyes. Fear, perhaps. Or grief. The chairman suffered a severe physical collapse 6 weeks ago, he said carefully. The details are confidential. What you need to know is this: he cannot walk. He has limited use of his right arm. He refuses most medication. He has dismissed 11 caregivers before you. Temi absorbed this. 11? In 6 weeks. Why? Secretary Park's jaw tightened. The chairman is difficult. Temi almost smiled. She had nursed dying men in Lagos hospitals with no electricity. She had held the hands of patients who cursed her with their final breaths. She had learned that difficult was simply another word for wounded. I understand, she said. Secretary Park studied her for a long moment. Then he continued walking. The door to the chairman's suite was dark mahogany. Secretary Park paused with his hand on the handle. Miss Ogunley. Yes. Do not expect gratitude. Do not expect kindness. Do not expect him to remember your name. He met her eyes. And whatever you do not pity him. Why not? Because he will destroy you for it. He opened the door. The room was dim. Heavy curtains blocked the Seoul skyline. Medical equipment hummed in the shadows. The air was thick with something Temi recognized instantly. Despair. It had a particular weight. She had felt it in her mother's hospital room. In the morgue where she identified her father's body. In the quiet moments at 3 a.m. when she wondered if any of it was worth fighting for. This room drowned in it. She stepped inside. He was lying in the bed. The great Kang Tae-hyun. She had read about him during her flight. Newspapers called him the Silent Emperor. He controlled Kang Industries, construction, technology, shipping, and whispered connections to things that never made the papers. At 39, he had built an empire. At 39, he could not lift his own body. The blanket was pulled to his chest. His black hair was longer than his photograph suggested, falling across his forehead in uncombed waves. His face, sharp angles and aristocratic bones, was turned toward the window. He did not acknowledge her entrance. But she saw his hand twitch against the sheets. On his neck, a dragon tattoo coiled upward, black ink against pale skin. It seemed to breathe with him. Scales and fury and something ancient. His listening, she realized. He knows I'm here. Chairman Kang, Secretary Park announced. This is Temi Ogunley. Your new caregiver. Silence. The monitors beeped. Temi waited. She was good at waiting. When Kang Tae-hyun finally spoke, his voice was ruin. Get out. It was not loud. It did not need to be. The words carried the weight of a man who had spent decades being obeyed without question. Secretary Park stiffened. Temi did not move. Chairman, Secretary Park began. Not you. Tae-hyun's head turned slightly. Just enough for Temi to see his eyes. They were black. Not dark brown, black. Like holes where light went to die. They fixed on her with an intensity that should have made her step backward. She held his gaze. He said. Out. Temi felt her heartbeat in her throat. But she had not flown across the world to be dismissed by a wounded man's pride. She took a step forward. Secretary Park made a small sound of alarm. Chairman Kang, she said quietly. My name is Temi. I will be caring for you for the next 3 months. You will not. I will. Something flickered in those black eyes. Surprise, perhaps. He was not accustomed to defiance. I do not need a caregiver, he said. Each word seemed to cost him. I do not need you. Temi studied him. The way his right hand lay motionless at his side. The slight tremor in his left. The sweat beading at his temple from the effort of speaking. He was in pain. He was drowning in it. And he would rather die than let anyone see. You're right, she said simply. You don't need me. Both men stared at her. She moved toward the window. Drew back the curtains. Gray soul light flooded the room. Tae-hyun hissed, whether from the light or the movement, she couldn't tell. What are you doing? He demanded. You've been lying in the dark, she said. Your body needs light. It helps with healing. I didn't ask. You didn't have to. She turned back to him. Calm. Steady. I'm not here because you want me, Chairman Kang. I'm here because you need me. And regardless of what you say or how many times you tell me to leave, I'm going to do my job. Silence. The monitors beeped. Tae-hyun's eyes had not left her face. Something was happening behind them, calculation, fury, and something else she couldn't name. 11 caregivers, he said softly. Do you know what happened to them? I know they left. They ran. His lips curved. It was not a smile. Crying. Broken. One filed a lawsuit. He paused. I will break you too. Temi felt the threat land. She let it wash over her. Then she walked to his bedside. Reached for the water pitcher. Poured a glass. Held it toward him. "Drink," she said. "You're dehydrated." For a long moment, he did nothing. Then, slowly, so slowly that Secretary Park took an unconscious step forward, Kang Tae-hyun raised his left hand. It trembled. The movement clearly cost him. But he took the glass. Their fingers brushed. Something electric passed between them. Temi felt it spark through her bloodstream. Felt her breath catch. Felt something ancient stir in her chest. "Don't," she told herself. "He's a patient. He's a job. He's nothing." But his eyes held hers. And for the first time, she saw something other than cruelty in them. She saw curiosity. He drank. 3 sips. Then he pushed the glass away. "Leave us," he told Secretary Park. His voice was still rough, but something had shifted. "I will speak with her." Secretary Park hesitated. "Chairman." "Leave." Secretary Park left. The door closed. They were alone. The room felt smaller suddenly. The air thicker. Temi was acutely aware of how close she stood to him. Of the dragon tattoo coiling up his neck. Of the raw power that clung to him even in this weakened state. "You're not afraid," he observed. "Should I be? Everyone is afraid of me." "I'm not everyone." His eyes narrowed. "No," he said slowly. "You're not." He studied her the way she imagined he studied contracts, looking for weaknesses, loopholes, vulnerabilities. "Why are you here?" he asked. "The agency." "No." He cut her off. "Why are you here?" "A Nigerian nurse in Seoul. Working for a man the newspapers call a monster. For 3 months." His voice dropped. "What are you running from?" Temi felt the question pierce her. She did not answer. His lip curved. "Everyone is running from something," he said. "The question is whether you're running toward the money, or away from something worse." "Does it matter?" "It might." "Why?" He was quiet for a moment. "Because if you're desperate enough to stay," he said finally, "then perhaps you're the first person I can't destroy." The next morning, Temi arrived at his room at 6 a.m. The curtains were closed again. She opened them. Tae-hyun glared at her from the bed. "I liked the dark." "The dark isn't good for you." "Neither is your presence." Temi ignored him. She moved to check his medication chart. His vitals. The 4 drip that delivered nutrients his damaged body couldn't process properly. She worked in silence. He watched her in silence. It became their rhythm. Day 2. She brought breakfast. He refused to eat. "The food is adequate," he said dismissively. "I simply have no appetite." "Your body needs fuel to heal." "My body needs to be left alone." Temi set down the tray. "Chairman Kang," she said carefully. "I've cared for dying men who begged for one more meal. I've watched children in Lagos hospitals cry with hunger. So when I tell you to eat, it's not a request." Something flickered across his face. Anger, perhaps. But also, something else. "You compare me to dying men," he said. "Should I compare you to something else? I am Kang Tae-hyun. Right now, you are a patient who hasn't eaten in 16 hours. Your name doesn't change your biology." He stared at her. She held out a spoon. After a long moment, he took it. Day 3. Physical therapy began. The medical team arrived. 2 Korean doctors and a physiotherapist who spoke to Tae-hyun in rapid Korean. Temi stood in the corner. She watched them manipulate his limbs. Watched him grit his teeth against pain he was too proud to voice. Watched the dragon tattoo flex as his muscles spasmed. They were clinical. Efficient. Cold. When they left, Tae-hyun lay motionless. Sweat soaked his hospital gown. His breathing was ragged. Temi approached. Without a word, she took a cool cloth and pressed it to his forehead. He flinched. "What are you doing?" "Helping." "I didn't ask for help." "You never do." She continued wiping his brow. His neck. The skin around the dragon tattoo, where sweat had pooled. He watched her. His black eyes tracked every movement. Why don't you flinch? He asked suddenly. From what? From me. From this. He gestured vaguely at himself, at the ruin of his body. Everyone flinches. Temmie considered the question. I've seen worse, she said honestly. Worse than me? Worse than this? Something shifted in his gaze. For a moment, she saw through the cruelty. Through the armor. Through the carefully constructed fortress of indifference. She saw a man who was terrified. Not of death. Of dependence. Of being seen. You're interesting, he said quietly. I don't like interesting. That sounds like a personal problem. His lip twitched. It might have been amusement. Day 4. She learned about his scars. Not the physical ones, though those were numerous. Pale lines across his torso. A raised ridge along his left shoulder. Something that looked like a burn on his hip. No, she learned about the invisible scars. It started when she was adjusting his pillow. Don't, he snapped. She paused. Don't what? Stand behind me. Temmie moved to his side. She said nothing. But she filed the information away. Later, when she reached to check his fore, he caught her wrist. His grip was weak, barely more than a tremor. But his eyes blazed. Don't touch me without warning. She nodded. I understand. You understand nothing. Then help me understand. He released her wrist. Said nothing. But that night, when she brought his medication, she announced herself at the door. Called his name before approaching. Narrated each movement before she made it. He noticed. He didn't acknowledge it. But some of the tension left his shoulders. Day 5. They fought. It was bound to happen. Temmie had suggested a bath. Taehyun had refused. She had insisted. He had called her stubborn, presumptuous, and insufferably African. The words had landed like a slap. She had set down the basin. Looked at him directly. I have been called many things, Chairman Kang, she said quietly. Stubborn, yes. Presumptuous, perhaps. But my heritage is not an insult. And if you use it as one again, I will walk out of this room and not return. Silence. Absolute silence. Taehyun stared at her as if she had grown a second head. You would threaten me? I would establish a boundary. No one establishes boundaries with me. Then I suppose I'm the first. The silence stretched. Something dangerous crackled between them, but it wasn't anger. It was something else. Something that made Temmie's pulse race and her palms sweat. Finally, Taehyun spoke. My mother was from Busan, he said. The words seemed dragged from somewhere deep. When I was young, she called me a mongrel. Because my father was from a different region. Because my blood was mixed. He paused. I understand how words become weapons. Temmie processed this. Is that an apology? It's an explanation. Those aren't the same thing. His jaw tightened. No, he admitted. They're not. Silence. Then, I apologize. The words seemed to physically pain him. Temmie allowed herself a small nod. I accept. You're still insufferable. And you still need a bath. Something happened then. Something small but seismic. Kang Taehyun laughed. The sound was rusty. Broken. Like machinery that hadn't been used in decades. But it was real. Temmie felt it vibrate through her chest. Felt something warm bloom in her stomach. No, she told herself firmly. This means nothing. He's a patient. This is a job. But when she looked at him, at the ghost of a smile on his cruel mouth, she knew she was lying to herself. Day 6. She learned he didn't sleep. She discovered it by accident. At 2 a.m., she had woken from her own nightmares, memories of her father's funeral, of her mother's weeping, and wandered to the small kitchen in her quarters. On her way back, she passed his door. It was slightly ajar. She heard him. Not crying, Kang Taehyun would never cry. But breathing in that ragged, desperate way that spoke of demons. She pushed the door open. He was sitting up. His eyes were wide. Wild. Staring at something she couldn't see. Chairman Kang? He didn't respond. She approached slowly. Tae-hyun. His head snapped toward her. For a moment, she saw pure terror in his eyes. Then the walls came down. What are you doing here? His voice was ice. I heard you. You heard nothing. I heard nothing. She should have left. She should have respected his boundaries, his privacy, his desperate need for control. Instead, she sat on the edge of his bed. When I was 19, she said quietly, I watched my cousin drown. Tae-hyun went still. We were swimming in the Lagos lagoon. The current was stronger than we thought. I reached for her hand and... She paused. I still feel her fingers slipping away. Every night. For 8 years. Silence. The monitors beeped. Why are you telling me this? He asked. Because I recognize the look in your eyes. She met his gaze. You're drowning too. He didn't respond. But something shifted between them. When she rose to leave, his hand caught hers. Weak. Trembling. But intentional. Stay. It was barely a whisper. Just, stay. Temi looked at their joined hands. At the dragon tattoo peeking from beneath his sleeve. At the raw vulnerability on his face. She sat back down. Okay, she said softly. I'll stay. By week 2, something had fundamentally changed. Tae-hyun still snapped at her. Still demanded she leave. Still called her stubborn and infuriating and impossible. But he had stopped asking Secretary Park to fire her. And sometimes, in the quiet moments, she caught him watching her. It happened most often when she wasn't looking. When she was reviewing his charts. Adjusting his medication. Reading in the corner during his rest periods. She would feel the weight of his gaze. Would turn. And he would look away. Every time. You're staring, she said one afternoon. Tae-hyun's expression didn't change. I'm observing. What's the difference? Intention. And what's your intention? He was quiet for a moment. I'm trying to understand you. Why? Because you don't make sense. Temi set down her book. I'm a nurse. I care for patients. That makes perfect sense. No. He shook his head slowly. You could be anywhere. Working for anyone. But you're here. In this room. With me. His voice dropped. Despite everything I've done to push you away. Maybe I'm stubborn. You are. But that's not the answer. Then what is? His black eyes held hers. That's what I'm trying to understand. Day 10. Temi received a call from Nigeria. She stepped into the corridor to answer. Her brother's voice crackled through the connection, excited, nervous, young. Temi, Mummy is better. The doctors say the treatment is working. Relief washed over her. Thank God, she whispered. Thank God. When are you coming home? 3 months, remember? The contract. But that's so long. And who is this man you're caring for? Is he kind to you? Is he? He's fine, Adiwale. Everything is fine. It wasn't a complete lie. But it wasn't the truth either. When she ended the call, she leaned against the wall. Closed her eyes. Allowed herself one moment of exhaustion. Family. She jumped. Tae-hyun's voice came from the open doorway. He had wheeled himself there, a monumental effort that must have taken everything he had. His face was pale. Sweating. But his eyes were fixed on her. Chairman Kang, you shouldn't be out of bed. I heard you, he said. Through the door. Temi's heart sank. It was a private call. I know. He paused. Your mother is ill. She said nothing. That's why you're here. His voice was quiet. That's why you stay. Still, she said nothing. How much do you owe? That's none of your... How much? His voice cracked like a whip. Temi flinched. Then, for reasons she couldn't explain, she told him. 40 million naira. Roughly $80,000. For her treatment. Silence. And this contract? Pays 200,000. His jaw tightened. You're selling yourself for money. I'm working for money. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She met his eyes. I know who I am and why I'm here. I'm not ashamed of it. Something flickered across his face. Respect, perhaps. Or something deeper. Help me back to bed, he said quietly. She did. That night, Temi couldn't sleep. She lay in her quarters, staring at the ceiling. The conversation kept replaying. You're selling yourself for money. Was she? Was there a difference between selling her labor and selling her soul? She thought of her mother's face. Her brother's voice. The family home in Lagos that had been in her family for generations. She thought of Taehyun's eyes. The way he looked at her. The way he had struggled to the door just to ask about her family. What is happening to me? She had no answer. Day 12. The physical therapy session was brutal. Taehyun had been pushing himself harder, too hard, Temi thought. He was trying to walk. He couldn't. Not yet. His legs buckled after 3 steps. He collapsed against the parallel bars, gasping. The dragon tattoo on his chest heaved with each ragged breath, visible beneath his loose shirt. The physiotherapist stepped back. That's enough for today, Chairman. Again. Sir, your body isn't ready. Again. They tried again. 2 steps this time. Then his legs gave out entirely. Temi lunged forward. She caught him before he hit the floor. His body was heavy against hers. Warm. She could feel his heart pounding against her chest. Could feel his breath hot against her neck. For a moment, neither of them moved. Let go, he growled. You'll fall. I said let go. And I said you'll fall. His eyes blazed. But he didn't pull away. Later, she helped him back to bed. His jaw was clenched. His pride clearly wounded. You shouldn't have caught me. You would have hit your head. Perhaps that would have been better. She froze. What did you say? He didn't answer. But she saw it in his eyes. The darkness. The despair. The terrible, consuming belief that he would never be whole again. Chairman Kang. Don't. His voice was sharp. Don't give me platitudes. Don't tell me it will get better. Don't tell me I need to hope. Then what should I tell you? He looked at her. Really looked at her. Tell me why you stay. Because it's my job. Lie. Because you need me. Another lie. Then what do you want me to say? His hand reached up. Weak. Trembling. It touched her cheek. The contact was electric. Tell me, he whispered, that I'm not completely lost. Temi felt her heart crack. Felt something shift in her chest, something she had been desperately trying to suppress. She covered his hand with hers. You're not lost, she said softly. You're just finding your way back. His eyes closed. A single tear slid down his cheek. She pretended not to see it. Week 3 brought a complication. His name was Junho. He arrived on a Tuesday, tall, handsome, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He introduced himself as Taehyun's cousin and business partner. Temi didn't trust him immediately. Something in the way he looked at Taehyun. Something calculating. Hungry. She stayed in the corner while they talked, business matters she didn't understand, spoken in rapid Korean that excluded her deliberately. But she watched. And she noticed things. Junho's eyes kept drifting to the medical charts. To the medication schedule. To Temi herself. So this is the famous African nurse, he said eventually, switching to English. The one who has lasted longest. Temi met his smile with a neutral expression. I prefer Temi. Of course. His smile widened. Tell me, Temi, how do you find our chairman? Is he as difficult as they say? He's my patient. That's all. Him. Junho's eyes flickered. Loyal too. How refreshing. Junho. Taehyun's voice cut through. Leave her alone. I'm simply making conversation. Make it elsewhere. The tension crackled. Junho's smile didn't waver, but something dark moved behind it. As you wish, cousin. He stood. I'll visit again soon. To check on your progress. He left. The room felt lighter without him. I don't like him, Temmie said. Taehyun's head turned. You shouldn't. Why? A long pause. Because he's the one who put me here. The words hung in the air. Temmie felt cold wash through her. What? My collapse. Taehyun's voice was flat. It wasn't natural. I was poisoned. Poisoned? Slowly. Over months. Something in my food, my water, my medication, we still don't know. His jaw tightened. My doctors discovered it by accident. The damage was already done. And you think Junho? I don't think. I know. His eyes found hers. But I can't prove it. And until I can walk again, until I can stand on my own, I'm vulnerable. Temmie processed this. The implications. The danger. Why are you telling me this? Because if something happens to me, he said quietly, I need someone to know the truth. Why me? His gaze held hers. Because you're the only person in this building I trust. That night, Temmie couldn't eat. She paced her quarters. Poisoned. Attempted murder. A cousin who smiled like a snake and visited like a predator circling wounded prey. And somehow, she was now a confidant to secrets that could get her killed. What have I gotten myself into? A knock at her door. She opened it. Secretary Park stood in the corridor. Miss Ogunlee. The chairman requests your presence. At this hour? He says it's urgent. She found Taehyun sitting up in bed. The lights were dim. The dragon tattoo on his neck seemed to writhe in the shadows. You came, he said. You summoned. I asked. There's a difference. She moved closer. What's urgent? He was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking, he said finally. About what you said. About finding my way back. Yes. I don't know how to do that. His voice was raw. I've spent my entire life moving forward. Building. Conquering. I don't know how to heal. Temmie sat on the edge of his bed. Healing isn't linear, she said. It's not a business plan. You can't force it. Then what do I do? You let yourself feel. Feel what? Whatever you're running from. His jaw tightened. You don't know what you're asking. Then show me. The silence stretched. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I killed a man when I was 23. Temmie went still. He was embezzling from my father's company. Destroying everything my family had built. I confronted him and... He closed his eyes. It was an accident. We fought. He fell. But I watched him die and I didn't feel anything. Temmie said nothing. After that, I stopped feeling altogether. It was easier. Safer. His eyes opened. I built my empire on numbness. On control. On never needing anyone. And now? Now I can't move. Can't walk. Can't do anything without help. His voice cracked. And I feel everything. Every weakness. Every failure. Every person I've hurt. It's drowning me. Temmie reached for his hand. He let her take it. Feeling isn't weakness, she said softly. It's proof that you're still human. What if I don't want to be human? Then you wouldn't have told me any of this. He looked at her. Something shifted in his gaze. The walls were crumbling. And Temmie saw, for the first time, the man beneath the monster. You're dangerous, he whispered. Why? Because you make me want to feel. Week 4 changed everything. It started with small things. Taehyun asking about her day. Taehyun remembering that she liked her tea without sugar. Taehyun's eyes softening when she entered the room. Temmie told herself it meant nothing. She was lying. One afternoon, he asked about Nigeria. What's it like? Temmie looked up from her book. Home. Yes. She thought about it. Loud, she said. Chaotic. Beautiful. She smiled. The food is always spicy and there's always someone playing music. Family is everything. Community is everything. It sounds warm. It is. He was quiet. I've never had that, he said finally. Warmth. Family. His jaw tightened. My mother died when I was 12. My father was distant. I raised myself on spite and ambition. That sounds lonely. It was efficient. Those aren't the same thing. No, he agreed. They're not. Day 26. He walked. 3 steps. Then 5. Then 10. His legs shook. His face was pale. But he was standing. Temmie felt tears prick her eyes. You did it, she whispered. He looked at her. And smiled. A real smile. It transformed his face, broke through the cruelty and coldness and revealed something breathtaking beneath. I did it, he repeated. His hand reached for hers. He squeezed. Thank you. I didn't do anything. You did everything. That night, she dreamed of him. Not the cold chairman. Not the wounded patient. The man who smiled. The man who held her hand. She woke gasping. This is dangerous, she thought. This is so dangerous. But it was too late. She was already falling. Day 28. Junho returned. This time, he came when Taehyun was sleeping. Temmie met him in the corridor. Miss Ogunlee. His smile was cold. I was hoping to see my cousin. He's resting. Then I'll wait. That's not advisable. Something shifted in his eyes. You're protective of him. I'm his nurse. Is that all? She didn't answer. Junho stepped closer. A word of advice, he said softly. My cousin is not a good man. He has done terrible things. And whatever you think is happening between you, it's not real. Temmie held her ground. I think you should leave. I think you should be careful. His smile turned cruel. Foreign nurses have a way of disappearing in this country. The threat was clear. Temmie felt fear coil in her stomach. But she didn't flinch. Goodbye, Mr. Junho. She turned her back on him. That evening, she told Taehyun. His face went dark. He threatened you? He implied things. That's the same. Taehyun. No. He cut her off. If he comes near you again, I want to know. Immediately. You're still recovering. I don't care. His eyes blazed. You are under my protection. He doesn't get to touch you. He doesn't get to threaten you. He doesn't get to look at you. The possessiveness in his voice should have frightened her. Instead, it made something warm bloom in her chest. Why do you care so much? She asked quietly. Taehyun went still. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, because you're the first person who has ever seen me. Not my name. Not my power. Me. Temmie felt her heart stop. And I don't know what that means yet, he continued. But I know I can't lose it. I can't lose you. She should have stepped back. Should have reminded him of boundaries. Of professionalism. Of the contract that would end in 2 months. Instead, she stepped forward. Her hand touched his cheek. He closed his eyes. You won't lose me, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. That night, something shifted. Something irreversible. They didn't speak of it. But when Temmie helped him to bed, his hand lingered on hers. And when she turned to leave, his voice stopped her. Temmie. She turned. Stay. It wasn't a command. It was a plea. She stayed. Week 5 brought the crisis. It started with a routine blood test. Secretary Park's face when he received the results told Temmie everything she needed to know. What is it? She demanded. The poison, he said quietly. It's still in his system. We thought we'd neutralized it, but... But what? It's been reintroduced. Temmie's blood ran cold. Someone is still poisoning him. Yes. From the inside. Yes. She thought of Junho's visits. The way he looked at the medication charts. The way he smiled like a man who knew something no one else did. We need to tell him. Miss Ogunlee. Now, Secretary Park. Taehyun took the news in silence. His face was stone. His hands gripped the sheets. But something burned in his eyes, something ancient and terrifying. Who has access to my medication? He asked quietly. Myself, the nurses, the doctors, and... Secretary Park hesitated. And? Your cousin. He insisted on providing your supplements personally. Silence. Absolute silence. Then Taehyun laughed. It was not the laugh Temi had heard before, the rusty, broken sound that spoke of unused joy. This was something else. Something dark. Of course, he said. Of course it was him. The next hours were chaos. New security protocols. New staff screenings. Junho was banned from the building, though he hadn't been formally accused yet. But the damage was done. Taehyun was weaker than before. The poison had set his recovery back weeks. And something had broken inside him. That night, Temi found him trying to stand. What are you doing? She demanded. Training. You need rest. I need to be strong. His voice cracked. He's trying to kill me and I'm lying here like a corpse. I need to fight. I need to. His legs buckled. Temi caught him. They both fell. She landed beneath him, her back against the cold floor, his body pressed against hers. For a moment, neither moved. Let me go, he whispered. I won't. I'll hurt you. You won't. His eyes found hers. So close. So dark. So full of everything he refused to say. Temi. Yes. I don't deserve you. That's not for you to decide. His hand touched her face. Trembling. What are you doing to me? Saving you. I don't know how to be saved. Then let me show you. He kissed her. Soft. Desperate. She kissed him back. And the world fell away. The scene fades to black. When Temi woke, she was in his bed. They were both clothed. Nothing had happened beyond the kiss. But everything had changed. Taehyun was awake beside her. Watching her. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For dragging you into this. Into my world. Into my darkness. Temi propped herself up. You didn't drag me anywhere. I chose to stay. Why? She thought about the question. About her mother in Lagos. About the money. About all the practical reasons that had brought her to Seoul. None of them mattered anymore. Because I see you, she said simply. And I'm not afraid of what I see. Something broke across his face. He pulled her close. Stay, he whispered. After the contract. After the money. Stay. Taehyun. I know I have nothing to offer. I know I'm broken and dangerous and everything you should run from. But... His voice cracked. I need you. Not as a nurse. As mine. Temi felt tears slide down her cheeks. We barely know each other. I know enough. This is insane. Yes. I have a life in Nigeria. A family. Obligations. I'll take care of all of it. You can't just. I can. His eyes burned into hers. Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me I'm imagining the way you look at me. Tell me to stop, and I'll stop. Temi opened her mouth. No words came. Because she couldn't lie. Not to him. Not anymore. I feel it, she whispered. God help me, I feel it. He kissed her again. And this time, she didn't pull away. Week 6 shattered everything. It started with a phone call. Temi was reviewing medication schedules when her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Miss Ogunli. The voice was smooth. Familiar. We need to talk. Junho. How did you get this number? I have many resources. A pause. I'm calling to offer you an opportunity. I'm not interested. You should be. I'm prepared to triple whatever my cousin is paying you. Temi's hand tightened on the phone. For what? Information. His condition. His recovery progress. His weaknesses. Silence. You want me to spy on him. I want you to protect yourself. His voice hardened. My cousin is dying, Miss Ogunley. The poison is working. In a few months, he'll be gone, and anyone associated with him will be investigated, questioned, possibly deported. You're threatening me. I'm warning you. There's a difference. There isn't. Think about it. His voice softened. Your mother needs treatment. Your brother needs education. $600,000 could change your family's life forever. Temmie felt sick. Goodbye, Mr. Junho. Don't hang up. She hung up. She told Taehyun immediately. His reaction was volcanic. He called you directly? Yes. On your personal phone? Yes. Which means he's been watching you. Tracking you. The implications settled over Temmie like a cold blanket. Why would he do that? Because he knows you're important to me. Taehyun's voice was deadly. Because hurting you is the fastest way to hurt me. Taehyun. I'm moving you out of Seoul. What? Tonight. Secretary Park will arrange. No. He stopped. Stared at her. No. I'm not running. Temmie stood firm. You're still recovering. You need me here. I need you safe. I'm safe with you. You're not. You can't be. Not while Junho is alive. Then we deal with Junho. It's not that simple. Then make it simple. His eyes blazed. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand exactly what I'm asking. She stepped closer. I didn't come here to be protected, Taehyun. I came here to do a job. That job has changed, we have changed, but my commitment hasn't. Temmie. I'm not leaving you. The words hung in the air. Final. Absolute. Taehyun stared at her for a long moment. Then something crumbled in his expression. You're impossible, he whispered. So I've been told. Stubborn. Definitely. And completely, utterly irreplaceable. Temmie felt her heart skip. Is that a compliment? It's the truth. He pulled her close. Held her. And for a moment, the danger faded. But the danger hadn't really faded. It was just waiting. 3 days later, Temmie was attacked. She was walking back to her quarters after a late-night check on Taehyun when a figure stepped from the shadows. Miss Ogunley. She recognized the voice. One of the hospital staff. A nurse. She had seemed friendly. What are you? The needle came fast. Temmie felt it pierce her neck. Felt the cold rush of sedation. The last thing she saw was the woman's apologetic smile. Nothing personal, the woman said. Just business. Then everything went black. Temmie's unconscious body was carried through the hospital's service corridors by 2 men in dark suits. Her phone lay abandoned in the hallway, screen cracked, glowing with an unread message from Taehyun. Where are you? I need you. In his room, Kang Taehyun waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. A cold dread settled into his bones. He pressed the call button. Secretary Park. Chairman? Find her. Find who, sir? Temmie. His voice cracked. Find Temmie. Now. Temmie woke in chains. Her wrists were bound. Her ankles shackled to a metal chair. The room was cold, concrete walls, no windows, a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. She blinked against the harsh light. Tried to remember. The corridor. The nurse. The needle. Junho. Her heart hammered. She tested the chains. Solid. No give. You're awake. The voice came from the shadows. She turned her head. A man stepped forward, tall, thin, with the particular stillness of someone who had done terrible things. Who are you? Nobody important. He smiled. I'm just here to watch you. Watch me for who? But she already knew. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. Time became elastic in the darkness. Temmie focused on her breathing. On staying calm. On not letting fear consume her. Taehyun will find me, she told herself. He'll come. But another voice whispered, what if he can't? What if he's already dead? What if you're next? She pushed the thoughts away. Survival required focus. Nothing else. The door opened. Junho entered. He was dressed impeccably, charcoal suit, silver cufflinks, that same cold smile. He looked like a man attending a business meeting, not a kidnapping. Miss Ogunli. He pulled up a chair. Sat across from her. I apologize for the accommodations. Where am I? Somewhere private. Don't worry, you won't be here long. What do you want? I already told you. He leaned forward. Information. I already refused. Yes. His smile didn't waver. That was a mistake. What followed was calculated. Not violence, not yet. But pressure. Junho showed her photographs. Her mother in her hospital bed in Lagos. Her brother walking to class in Ibadan. The family home with its red roof and mango tree. Beautiful family, Junho observed. Vulnerable, though. So far away. So unprotected. Temi felt cold rage flood her veins. If you touch them, I won't have to. Not if you cooperate. What do you want to know? Everything. My cousin's recovery. His security protocols. His weaknesses. Junho's eyes hardened. His plans for me. Temi said nothing. He's told you things, hasn't he? About the poisoning. About his suspicions. Junho leaned closer. He trusts you. That makes you valuable. Still, she said nothing. Your silence is admirable but pointless. I will get what I need, either from you or from your family. They don't know anything. No. But their suffering might motivate you. Temi looked at the photographs. At her mother's tired face. At her brother's innocent smile. She thought of everything she had sacrificed to protect them. And she thought of Taehyun. Of his eyes. His touch. His broken, beautiful soul. If I betray him, I betray everything. But if I don't, take your time, Junho said, standing. I'll give you until morning. He left. The door locked behind him. Back in Seoul, chaos reigned. Kang Taehyun had not slept. He had barely breathed. From the moment Secretary Park confirmed Temi's disappearance, something had shattered inside him, some final wall that had kept the darkness at bay. Find her, he repeated for the 100th time. I don't care what it costs. I don't care who you have to kill. Find her. Chairman, we're doing everything. It's not enough. He gripped the edge of his bed. His legs were shaking, not from weakness now, but from barely contained rage. Junho took her. We don't have proof. I don't need proof. His voice was ice. I need a location. The breakthrough came at 3 a.m. One of Taehyun's security contacts traced the sedative in Temi's blood to a specific supplier. The supplier led to a warehouse outside Seoul. The warehouse led to a property owned by a shell company linked to Junho's investments. That's where he's keeping her, Secretary Park reported. Taehyun was already standing. Prepare the car. Chairman, you can barely walk. I said prepare the car. This is suicide. You're in no condition to. I don't care. The words echoed through the room. Secretary Park went silent. Taehyun's chest heaved. The dragon tattoo pulsed beneath his shirt. If I stay here, he said quietly, and something happens to her, I will never recover. Do you understand? She is the only thing keeping me alive. Secretary Park studied his face. Then nodded slowly. I'll prepare the car. The journey took 2 hours. Taehyun sat in the back seat, motionless. His body screamed with pain. Every muscle. Every nerve. The poison had weakened him more than he wanted to admit. But he didn't care. Temi. Her name was a drumbeat in his blood. I'm coming. The property was isolated. A warehouse compound surrounded by chain-link fencing. Guards at the perimeter. Security cameras on every corner. Taehyun surveyed it through the car window. How many men? He asked. At least 12. Possibly more. Can we take them? With our current resources? Unlikely. What about backup? En route. But they won't arrive for another hour. Tae-hyun's jaw tightened. An hour was too long. Anything could happen in an hour. I'm going in. Chairman. Alone if necessary. That's insane. Probably. He opened the car door. Secretary Park grabbed his arm. At least wait for me. Let me create a distraction. Tae-hyun paused. Looked at the man who had served him for 15 years. You'd risk your life for this? I'd risk my life for you, sir. Secretary Park's voice was steady. And for her. She's good for you. Something flickered across Tae-hyun's face. Gratitude, perhaps. Or something deeper. Thank you, he said quietly. Don't thank me yet. We might die. Then we die together. Secretary Park's distraction was effective. A small explosive device near the front gate. Not enough to kill, but enough to draw attention. Guards rushed toward the explosion. Tae-hyun slipped through the shadows. Every step was agony. His legs trembled. His vision blurred. The poison in his system was fighting against him. But he pushed forward. Past storage containers. Through darkened corridors. Following the sound of voices. He found her in a basement room. Through a small window in the door, he could see her, chained to a chair, head bowed, blood on her lip. His blood turned to ice. Then to fire. The guard at the door didn't see him coming. One strike to the throat. The man crumpled. Tae-hyun took his gun. Opened the door. Temi's head lifted. Her eyes widened. Tae-hyun. Don't speak. He moved to her chains. His hands were shaking. Are you hurt? I'm fine. You're bleeding. It's nothing. It's not nothing. His voice cracked. Nothing that happens to you is nothing. He found the lock on her chains. Shot it. The metal fell away. She was in his arms immediately. He held her. Tighter than he'd ever held anything. I thought I lost you, he whispered against her hair. I thought. I'm here. Her hands pressed against his chest. I'm here. When I realized you were gone, something broke inside me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I could only. I know. You don't. He pulled back. Looked at her. Temi, I love you. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Real. I love you, he repeated. And I know I have no right to say that. I know I'm broken and dangerous and everything you should run from. But I love you. And if anything had happened to you. Stop. She touched his face. I love you too. The moment should have lasted. It should have been beautiful. But footsteps echoed in the corridor. Getting closer. We need to go, Temi said. Can you walk? Yes. He took her hand. They ran. The warehouse was a maze. Corridors leading to corridors. Doors leading to more doors. Tae-hyun's body was failing. Each step was harder than the last. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. Not with her hand in his. They almost made it. The exit was 20 feet away when Junho stepped from the shadows. He was holding a gun. Cousin. His smile was cold. I should have known you'd come yourself. Tae-hyun pushed Temi behind him. Let her go. No, I don't think I will. Junho raised the gun. She's leverage. And you're weak. Look at you, barely standing. I'm strong enough to kill you. Are you? Junho laughed. You couldn't kill me at your best. And this isn't your best. Then let me show you what I can do at my worst. What happened next was a blur. Tae-hyun lunged. The gun fired. Pain exploded through his shoulder. But he didn't stop. They crashed to the ground. Tae-hyun's hands found Junho's throat. You poisoned me, he growled. You tried to kill me. You took her. And I'll do it again, Junho choked. Until you're dead. Until your empire is mine. Until. Tae-hyun squeezed. Junho's face went red. Then purple. Then still. Silence. Tae-hyun released his grip. Looked down at his cousin's body. Felt nothing. Tae-hyun. Temi's voice. She was kneeling beside him. Her hands pressed against his bleeding shoulder. Stay with me. I'm here. You're losing blood. I've lost worse. Don't joke. I'm not joking. He managed a weak smile. I've lost hope before. Lost faith. Lost everything. His hand touched her face. I never want to lose you. You won't. Promise me. I promise. The backup arrived 6 minutes later. Medical teams. Security personnel. Chaos and noise. But Temi stayed at his side. Held his hand. Whispered his name. And Tae-hyun knew, for the first time in his life, that he wasn't alone. The following weeks were a blur of hospitals and healing. Tae-hyun's shoulder wound required surgery. The poison required intensive treatment. His body, already weakened, fought harder than ever to survive. But Temi was there. Every moment. Every breath. She slept in the chair beside his bed. Woke when he woke. Fed him when he was too weak to lift a spoon. Read to him when he couldn't sleep. Held him when the nightmares came. One night, 3 weeks after the warehouse, he asked her to lie beside him. The bed is too small, she protested. I don't care. You'll be uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable without you. She crawled into the narrow hospital bed. He wrapped his arm around her. And for the first time since his collapse, Kang Tae-hyun slept through the night. Recovery was slow. But it was real. By week 7, he was walking without assistance. By week 8, his blood work was clean. By week 9, he returned to the penthouse, not as a patient, but as a man rebuilding his life. Temi went with him. This isn't part of your contract, he pointed out as she unpacked her clothes in the guest room. My contract ended weeks ago. Then why are you still here? She looked at him. He was standing in the doorway, still thinner than before, but stronger. The dragon tattoo on his neck seemed to pulse with renewed life. Because I want to be. Even after everything. Especially after everything. He crossed the room. Took her hands. Marry me. The words hung in the air. Temi stared at him. What? Marry me. He said it again, firmer this time. I know it's too soon. I know we've only known each other for 2 months. I know I'm asking you to give up your life in Nigeria, your family, your... Yes. He stopped. Yes. Yes. She laughed, actually laughed. Yes, I'll marry you. His eyes widened. You're serious? Have I ever not been serious? You're impossible. So you keep saying. He kissed her. Deep. Slow. And something broken finally healed. They flew to Nigeria 2 weeks later. Temi had warned him. It's nothing like Seoul. It's loud. Chaotic. Overwhelming. I can handle it. You've never been to Lagos. I've survived assassination attempts. Lagos can't be worse. She laughed. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't right. The airport was chaos. Heat. Noise. Bodies everywhere. The smell of exhaust and cooking food and something undefinably alive. Tae-hyun stepped onto Nigerian soil and felt the sun hit his face like a physical force. Welcome to Nigeria, Temi said beside him. He looked at her. She was glowing. It's perfect, he said. Her mother cried when she saw them. Adunni am I, she kept repeating, holding Temi's face. My beautiful one. You came home. I told you I would, Mummy. And who is this? Her mother's eyes moved to Tae-hyun. This Korean man who sends money every month. This is Tae-hyun. His. Temi hesitated. He's my fiancé. Silence. Her mother studied him. Long. Careful. Then she nodded. He has good eyes, she declared. Sad, but good. Tae-hyun bowed deeply. It's an honor to meet you. Her mother laughed. So formal. Call me Mema. Everyone does. And just like that, Kang Tae-hyun was welcomed into the Ogunli family. Her brother Adiwale was less convinced. You're very old, he said bluntly over dinner. Adiwale. Temi exclaimed. What? He is. You're almost 40. 39. Taehyun corrected mildly. Same thing. Adiwale crossed his arms. Why do you want to marry my sister? Because she saved my life. That's her job. It was. Now it's my life. Adiwale considered this. If you hurt her, he said finally, I'll kill you. I don't care how rich you are. If I hurt her, Taehyun replied calmly, I'll deserve it. Adiwale nodded. Okay. You can stay. The wedding was held 1 month later. Not in Seoul, though they would have a ceremony there later. In Lagos. On the beach where Temi's father used to take her as a child. She wore white. Traditional Nigerian styling, but cut in a Korean silhouette, a blend of both worlds. Taehyun wore black. A traditional Korean hanbok, modified with Nigerian Kent fabric along the collar. The dragon tattoo was visible at his throat. He had never looked more alive. The ceremony was small. Family. Close friends. Secretary Park, who had become something like an uncle. Temi's mother read a blessing in Yoruba. Taehyun's voice cracked when he spoke his vows. I spent 39 years building walls, he said, looking into Temi's eyes. You taught me that walls can become prisons. You taught me that strength isn't about control, it's about surrender. And I surrender to you. Every day. For the rest of my life. Temi wiped her tears. I came to Seoul for money, she said. I found something worth more than money could ever buy. I found you. And I promised to stay, not because I have to, but because I choose to. Because you are my home. They kissed as the sun set over the water. And somewhere, in the space between cultures and continents and broken pasts, something beautiful was born. They returned to Seoul as husband and wife. The business world trembled. Not from fear this time, from surprise. Kang Taehyun had changed. He was still sharp. Still calculating. Still the most dangerous man in the boardroom. But something had softened. He smiled more. Laughed occasionally. And he never attended a meeting without his wife's photograph on his desk. The scandal over Junho's death had been contained. Self-defense, the reports read. A family dispute turned deadly. No charges were filed. The Kang Empire survived. Stronger, even. But Taehyun's priorities had shifted. I want to build a hospital, he announced one evening over dinner. Temi looked up. A hospital? In Lagos. For your mother. For families like yours. He met her eyes. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. I want it to mean something. Temi felt tears prick her eyes. You would do that? I would do anything for you. He took her hand. You gave me a reason to live. Let me give you a reason to believe that monsters can become human. You were never a monster. I was close. No. She squeezed his hand. You were just waiting for someone to see you. The hospital opened 1 year later. The Ogunlikang Medical Center. A state-of-the-art facility serving communities across Lagos. Temi cut the ribbon. Taehyun stood beside her. The dragon tattoo glinted in the Nigerian sun. 2 years after the wedding, Temi told him she was pregnant. They were in their Seoul penthouse. Winter light filtered through the windows. She handed him the test. Watched his face. Saw the walls crumble. A child, he whispered. Our child. I've never. He couldn't finish. His hands were shaking. She took them. You'll be a wonderful father. You don't know that. I know everything about you, Kang Taehyun. And I know that any child lucky enough to have you will be loved beyond measure. He pulled her close. Held her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to the earth. I don't deserve this, he whispered. Maybe not. But you have it anyway. Their daughter was born in autumn. They named her Yemi, meaning befitting me in Yoruba. She had Temi's eyes and Taehyun's stubbornness. She was perfect. Taehyun held her for the first time in the hospital. His hands, the same hands that had built empires and destroyed rivals, trembled as they cradled the tiny body. Hello, he whispered. Yemi yawned. I'm your father. His voice cracked. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. But I promise. I promise to protect you. To love you. To give you everything I never had. The baby opened her eyes. Looked at him. And Kang Tae-hyun, the silent emperor, the man who had ruled through fear and control, began to cry. 5 years later. The house in Busan was modest by Kang standards, only 8 bedrooms, a private beach, and a garden that Temi had spent 3 years cultivating. It was their retreat. Their home away from the empire. The place where they were simply a family. Tae-hyun watched his daughter play in the sand. Yemi was 5 now, a tornado of energy and opinions and unshakable confidence. She had Temi's laugh and Tae-hyun's stubbornness and a spirit entirely her own. "Appa," she called. "Come build a castle." "In a minute, little one." "Now, Appa. Now." Tae-hyun sighed. He turned to Temi, who was reading beside him. "She's demanding." "She's your daughter." "She's our daughter." "And whose stubbornness did she inherit?" "Yours." "Lies." He smiled. Leaned over. Kissed her. It was soft. Familiar. The kind of kiss that came from years of practice and endless love. "Go build your castle," Temi murmured against his lips. "Come with me. My book is very interesting. Your husband is more interesting." "Debatable." He laughed. Stood. Offered her his hand. "Come on," he said. "Let's be a family." She took his hand. They walked toward their daughter. The dragon tattoo caught the sunlight. And Temi smiled. That night, after Yemi was asleep, they sat on the balcony overlooking the ocean. Stars scattered across the Korean sky. Temi leaned against Tae-hyun's chest. His arms wrapped around her. Holding her like something precious. Like something worth fighting for. "Do you ever think about it?" she asked quietly. "About what?" "The beginning. When you wanted me to leave." He was silent for a moment. "Every day." "Really?" "I think about how close I came to destroying the best thing that ever happened to me." His arms tightened. "I think about what my life would be if you had walked away." "What would it be?" "Empty." His voice was raw. Cold. Meaningless. She turned in his arms. Looked up at his face. At the sharp angles that had softened over the years. At the eyes that still carried shadows but now held light too. At the dragon tattoo that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat. "You were never going to destroy me," she said softly. "You don't know that. I know you." "Do you?" "Better than anyone." He leaned down. Rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I've said it 1,000 times, but it still doesn't feel like enough." "Then show me." "Every day. For the rest of my life." "Promise." "Promise." They stayed on the balcony until the stars faded. 2 souls from different worlds. Bound by fate. Healed by love. Forever intertwined. 20 years later. Kang Tae-hyun was 60. His hair was silver now, but his eyes still held fire. His body was slower, but his mind was sharp. He had retired from active business 5 years ago, handed the empire to a team of successors while he focused on what mattered. Family. Love. Life. Yemi was 25 now, a doctor like Temi had been. She worked at the hospital in Lagos. She had her mother's compassion and her father's iron will. She was magnificent. Tae-hyun and Temi split their time between Seoul and Nigeria. Both places felt like home now. Both places held memories. Both places were part of their story. One morning, in their Lagos house, Temi found him on the veranda. He was looking out at the mango tree, the same one from the photographs Junho had shown her all those years ago. "You're awake early," she said. "I was thinking." "About what?" "About how I almost missed all of this." She sat beside him. Took his hand. "You didn't miss it. Because of you. Because of us." He turned to look at her. At 53, Temi was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Her hair was silver-streaked now. Lines had gathered around her eyes. But when she smiled, and she smiled at him now, She was still the woman who had refused to flinch in his hospital room. "I never thanked you," he said. "For what?" "For staying. That first night. When I told you to leave. You thanked me 1,000 times. It's not enough. It's everything." He pulled her close. Held her. And in the African morning light, surrounded by the sounds of Lagos waking up, Kang Tae-hyun understood what he had been searching for his entire life. Not power. Not control. Not empire. Just this. Just her. Just love. Temi found the letter by accident. She was cleaning Tae-hyun's study in the Seoul penthouse, a rare occurrence, since he usually insisted on maintaining his own space. But he was in Busan with Yemi for the weekend, and she had noticed the dust gathering on his bookshelves. The envelope was tucked between two leather-bound journals. Yellowed with age. Unsealed. Her name was written on the front in Tae-hyun's precise handwriting. She hesitated. It felt like an invasion, reading something he had clearly kept hidden. But curiosity won. She opened it. "Temi, if you're reading this, I'm already gone. I wrote this letter 3 weeks after you arrived. 3 weeks of watching you refuse to break. 3 weeks of hating you for making me feel things I had buried decades ago. I was planning to die. Not dramatically. Not violently. I simply intended to stop fighting. To let the poison take me. To surrender to the darkness that had been calling my name since childhood. And then you opened the curtains. Such a small thing. Meaningless, really. But you flooded my room with light and looked at me like I was human. Not a monster, not an emperor, not a dying man. Just human. I didn't know what to do with that. I still don't. But I know that if I die, when I die, I need you to understand something. You saved me before you even knew you were saving me. You gave me a reason to fight before I knew I wanted to live. Whatever happens between us, whether you stay or leave, whether you love me or hate me, know that you mattered. You matter. You will always matter. I am not a good man, Temi. I have done terrible things. I have hurt people. I have destroyed lives without remorse. But you made me want to be better. And that is the most terrifying thing anyone has ever done to me. If you're reading this and I'm gone, don't mourn me. Don't waste your tears on a man who spent his life building walls instead of bridges. Just live. Be happy. Find someone who deserves you, because I never did. But if you're reading this and I'm still alive, then maybe there's hope for me after all. Maybe you are my hope. Forever yours, Tae-hyun. Temi sat in his chair for a long time. The letter trembled in her hands. Tears slid down her cheeks. When Tae-hyun returned from Busan, she was waiting for him. Yemi ran to her immediately. "Yama. We built sandcastles." But Temi's eyes were fixed on her husband. He saw the letter in her hand. Went still. "You found it?" "Yes." Silence. Yemi looked between them, confused. "Yemi, baby," Temi said gently, "go wash up for dinner. Appa and I need to talk." "But now, little one." Yemi went. They stood in the foyer. The Seoul skyline glittered behind them. "I wrote that a long time ago," Tae-hyun said quietly. "I know. I should have burned it." "Why didn't you?" He was silent. "Because part of me wanted you to find it," he admitted. "Part of me wanted you to know how close I came. How much you changed." Temi crossed the space between them. Took his face in her hands. "You were going to let yourself die?" "Yes." "Because you thought you weren't worth saving?" "Yes." "And you kept this letter for 10 years?" "I didn't know how to tell you." "So you hid it in a place I would eventually find." His jaw tightened. "I'm not good at saying things." "I know." She smiled through her tears. "But you're getting better." "Am I?" "You married me. You became a father. You built a hospital." She pressed her forehead to his. "You're not the man who wrote this letter anymore." "Sometimes I still feel like him." "I know. But feeling like him and being him are different things." He wrapped his arms around her. Held her like she was oxygen. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For finding the letter. For not running. For His voice cracked. For everything. I'm not going anywhere. I know. Do you? Now I do. 8 years before the epilogue. They returned to the hospital where it all began. Kang Medical Tower. The 39th floor. The room where Temi had first seen him, broken, furious, alone. The room had been converted into a private lounge now. The medical equipment was gone. The darkness had been replaced with warm lighting and comfortable furniture. But the window was the same. The view was the same. And the memories pressed against Temi's chest like a physical weight. Why are we here? She asked. Taehyun stood by the window. The dragon tattoo was visible above his collar. Older now, the ink slightly faded, but still powerful. I come here sometimes, he said. When I need to remember. Remember what? How far I've come. He turned to face her. How far we've come. She moved to stand beside him. Below, Seoul sprawled in every direction, a city of millions, none of whom knew what had happened in this room. I was so angry when you first walked in, Taehyun said quietly. I had built my entire identity on control, and suddenly I couldn't even lift my own hand. I wanted to destroy everyone around me. You tried. I did. He smiled slightly. You didn't let me. I was too stubborn. You were exactly what I needed. He reached into his jacket. Pulled out a small box. Temi's heart skipped. We're already married, she pointed out. I know. He opened the box. But I never gave you a proper ring. Inside was a band of white gold, set with a single diamond that caught the light like frozen fire. Our wedding was rushed, he continued. We were healing. Running. Surviving. I never had the chance to do this properly. Taehyun. Let me finish. He took her hand. 12 years ago, you walked into this room and refused to be afraid of me. You saw through every wall I had built. You loved me when I didn't know how to be loved. He slid the ring onto her finger. This ring is my promise, he said. That I will spend every day of my life trying to deserve you. That I will never stop being grateful. That no matter what happens, no matter how much time passes, you will always be my reason to live. Temi looked at the ring. At his face. At the room where their story began. I don't need a ring to know you love me, she said softly. I know. But I need to give it to you. Why? Because you gave me everything. And I want the world to see that you're mine. She laughed. Kissed him. I've always been yours, she whispered. From the moment I opened those curtains. 3 years before the epilogue. Yemi was 22. She had just graduated from medical school, top of her class, with offers from hospitals across 3 continents. She chose Lagos. Are you sure? Taehyun asked over dinner. They were in Nigeria, at the family house. The mango tree outside the window was heavy with fruit. I'm sure, Appa. Seoul has better facilities. London has more prestige. Lagos. Lagos has the hospital you built for Halmione. Yemi's eyes met his. Lagos has people who need help. Lagos has meaning. Taehyun went quiet. Temi watched the exchange with soft eyes. Your grandmother would be proud, she said. Is Halmione watching? Yemi asked. Always. Temi's mother had passed 3 years earlier. Peacefully. In the hospital that bore her name. Surrounded by family. Holding Temi's hand. Her last words had been, you chose well, Adunni. He loves you. Temi had wept for days. Taehyun had held her through every tear. I want to run the hospital someday, Yemi continued. Not just work there. Run it. Make it better. Help more people. That's a lot of responsibility, Taehyun said. I know. It will consume your life. I know. You'll have to sacrifice. Appa. Yemi reached across the table. Took his hand. I watched you sacrifice everything for power. I watched Ioma sacrifice everything for family. I want to find a balance. And this hospital, your hospital, is where I can do that. Taehyun stared at his daughter. At the fire in her eyes, so like Temi's. At the stubbornness in her jaw, so like his own. At the compassion in her heart, a perfect blend of both. "You're remarkable," he said quietly. "I learned from remarkable people." That night, Taehyun found Temi on the veranda. She was looking at the stars. "She's going to change the world," he said. "She already has. She changed us. We raised her well. We raised her together." Temi turned to look at him. "That's what made the difference." He pulled her close. "I never thought I would have this," he admitted. "A family. A legacy. Something worth more than money or power. And now I can't imagine my life without it." The day before the epilogue, Taehyun woke to find Temi watching him. Morning light filtered through the Lagos curtains. "You're staring," he said. "I'm admiring. I'm 60 years old. And still the most beautiful man I've ever seen." He laughed. It was a real laugh, full and warm and free of shadows. He laughed so easily now. She had taught him that. He rolled toward her, traced the lines of her face with gentle fingers. "How long have you been awake?" "Long enough." "Why didn't you wake me?" "Because you looked peaceful." She smiled. "You never used to look peaceful." "I never used to be peaceful. And now I am." His hand settled on her cheek. "Because of you." They lay in comfortable silence. The sounds of Lagos waking up drifted through the window. Car horns, vendors calling, children laughing. "I had a dream," Taehyun said eventually. "Good or bad?" "Neither. Just a dream." He paused. "I was back in that hospital room. Before you came. Lying in the dark. Waiting to die." Temi's hand found his. "And then the door opened," he continued. "And a woman walked in. Dark skin. Calm eyes. She didn't flinch when I told her to leave. I remember. In the dream, I watched it happen. From outside myself. I saw how broken I was. How close to giving up." His voice thickened. "And I saw you walk toward me anyway. What happened then?" "You opened the curtains." He smiled. "You flooded the room with light. And I watched myself, the old me, the dying me, blink against the brightness like a creature seeing the sun for the first time. And then I woke up. Here. With you." He pressed his forehead to hers. "And I knew that everything I went through, the poison, the pain, the years of emptiness, it was all worth it. Because it led me to you." Temi kissed him. Soft. Slow. The way she had kissed him 10,000 times before. The way she would kiss him 10,000 times more. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you more." "Impossible." "Nothing is impossible." He smiled. "You taught me that too." They renewed their vows in Seoul. 26 years after their first wedding. In the garden of the Kang estate, a place that had once felt cold and corporate, now blooming with life. The guest list was small. Yemi. Secretary Park, retired now, but still loyal. Close friends from both Nigeria and Korea. A few business associates who had become genuine friends over the years. Temi wore gold. A Nigerian Asok fabric, woven with Korean patterns. Taehyun wore black. The same hanbok from their first wedding, altered to fit his older frame. The dragon tattoo was fully visible, a testament to survival, to power, to the fire that had never fully died. The officiant was a Buddhist monk Taehyun had met during his recovery. A man who had taught him meditation, patience, and the art of letting go. 26 years ago, the monk began. Two wounded souls found each other in a hospital room. One was dying. One was desperate. Neither expected to find love. He smiled. "And yet here you stand. Proof that even the most broken among us can be made whole." Taehyun turned to Temi. Took her hands. "I've written speeches," he said. "Planned what I would say. But none of it matters. What matters is this: you are my beginning and my end. You are the light I never knew I needed. You are the reason I survived." He squeezed her hands. "I don't deserve another lifetime with you. But if God is generous enough to give me one, I will spend every moment of it proving that I was worthy of the first. Temi's eyes shone with tears. When I took this job, she said, I was running from fear and toward money. I didn't expect to find a man worth saving. I didn't expect to fall in love. I didn't expect any of this. She gestured at the garden. At Yemi. At Secretary Park. At him. You taught me that strength isn't about surviving alone. It's about letting someone in. Letting them see you. Letting them love you. She touched his face. You are my home, Kang Tae-hyun. You have been since the moment you took that glass of water from my hand. And you will be until my last breath. They exchanged rings. New ones this time, simple bands engraved with their initials in both Korean and Yoruba. When they kissed, Yemi cheered. Secretary Park wiped his eyes. And somewhere, in the space between this world and the next, two mothers watched their children find forever. The last day. Tae-hyun was 84. Temi was 77. They had been married for 50 years. The end came quietly. Not with violence or tragedy, but with peace. Tae-hyun's heart had been weakening for years. The doctors had given him a timeline. He had ignored it, as he ignored most things that tried to limit him. But even Kang Tae-hyun couldn't fight forever. They were in Busan. In the house by the sea. In the bed where they had spent 1,000 nights. Yemi was there. Her own children, 2 daughters, fierce and beautiful, had said their goodbyes earlier. Secretary Park had passed 5 years ago, but his daughter had sent flowers. The room smelled of jasmine and the sea. Tae-hyun's hand was in Temi's. His grip was weak. But his eyes were clear. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For opening the curtains. She laughed. Even now, even at the end, she laughed. You've thanked me for that 1,000 times. It's not enough. It's everything. He looked at Yemi. Take care of your mother. Always, Appa. And tell your daughters, tell them their grandfather loved them. Even when I couldn't say it. Even when I didn't know how. They know. Make sure they know. I will. He turned back to Temi. I'm scared, he admitted. It was the first time he had ever said those words to her. I know, she said. I'm scared too. Will you wait for me? On the other side? I'll be right behind you. A few years. Maybe less. Don't rush. I won't. She pressed her lips to his forehead. But don't go too far without me. Never. His eyes closed. His breathing slowed. The monitors beeped their steady rhythm. And then, just before the end, he opened his eyes one last time. Looked at Temi. Smiled. You were worth it, he whispered. All of it. Every moment. So were you. His hand went limp in hers. The monitors flatlined. And Kang Tae-hyun, the silent emperor, the fallen sovereign, the man who had been saved by love, was finally at peace. Temi held his hand for a long time. She didn't cry. Not yet. She simply sat with him. With the man who had been her patient, her partner, her purpose. With the man who had made her believe that even the darkest souls could find light. Outside, the sun was setting over the Korean Sea. The sky was painted in shades of gold and amber and rose. And somewhere, in the space between heartbeats, Temi felt something shift. A presence. A warmth. A whisper. Wait for me. She smiled. Always, she said to the empty room. Always. Thank you for staying with us through this complete journey. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Stories like this are born from your support and love. Remember, even in our darkest moments, love can find us. Even the most broken hearts can heal. Even the coldest souls can learn to feel. Until we meet again, beautiful souls. Stay blessed.